Hi everybody. This is Stephen George. I'm at home at the moment. Really, I wanted to talk about what's happening, in the modern world and all this business with our loss of freedoms. Um, I d- I really think and feel that this loss of freedom that we're suffering at the moment, and which seems to be going on and spreading from country to country, it doesn't really matter whether you believe in the pandemic or not, whether you believe that you need a vaccination or not. None of that is really important. What's important is our right to choose, our right to have a normal life, our right not to be monitored every day in our lives, whether or not many people think that the vaccine passport, for instance, is a method for monitoring us, and the fact that it appears to have on it a great deal more than just your vaccine status. It has your race, where you live, whether you've got any criminal records, all those sort of things, and they don't need to be on um, a simple vaccine passport to say you had it or you've not had it. And of course, the countries that are have opted to make it mandatory to say you must get the vaccine um, seem to be ignoring what side effects there are. We know there are some. We know there are some people that have it with no problems at all. We also know that some people have it and get terrible problems. And all of the press, all of the mainstream appear to be ignoring that, um, despite the fact that the CDC in America has stated there's a direct link between the vaccine and myocarditis, and that has been said for some time. Actually, that is not really new, but it's been said officially. um I believe it was yesterday they said so. um there are other things that have also been said about it, like for instance blood clots. And it's not so much uh how widespread that is, but for anyone who then gets a blood clot that is endangers their life, it's absolutely terrifying for them. And to try and suggest that we should just ignore that and just, go ahead, it doesn't matter, is a really silly thing to say. What they should be doing is discussing what side effects there are and who suffered and who hasn't, and make it clear that it is an experimental vaccine, and it hasn't finished its test phase at all. And the only reason it's being used is because they believe there's some terrible disease that we've got to be vaccinated against. Having said that, we know it does not stop transmission and it does not stop you getting it. And of course, I've heard from lots of people, I'm sure you have, that they've had the vaccine and they've still caught COVID. In 2019, I had something, I don't know what the hell it was. And listening to what people describe COVID being like, possibly that's what it was. I don't know. But since December 2019, I've caught absolutely nothing. Strangely enough, not even a cold. I haven't been vaccinated. I don't want the vaccine anyway, but it's contraindicated for me because I have a very long history of blood clots. I already have an irregular heartbeat, and I wouldn't go near the stuff. That's my personal opinion, and I should be entitled to that opinion. It's not, again, whether or not what I say um, is frightening or not frightening. It's the fact that for me, that's factual. And for you, it might be factual also. You might also have a history of blood clots. You may have epilepsy. I have that. You may have an autoimmune disease. I also have that. These are all things that have come up with the use of the vaccine over a period of time. And they're saying that some of these people can't have that for that reason. A friend of mine, who I won't name, has been told if she was to have it, she'd have to be in hospital on a ward in order to have it, which of course for her is a terrifying prospect for the simple reason she's saying, well, if it's that safe, why does that have to be the case? She does have a lot of allergies, and so I can understand why they might say that. to her about if she has it, and she hasn't had it as yet anyway. Um, I don't like the way the mainstream media is completely opposing any discussion about adverse effects or about the whys and wherefores of why you might have it and why you might not have it. They're not. The conversation is not normal. You know, we normally hear about the pros and cons about everything. You know, I mean, if you buy a blooming sofa, they discuss how much it will cost and will that sofa be the right sofa and should you buy it or not buy it. But you know, now you're not even allowed to mention that the sofa exists. Never mind whether or not you should buy it. And this, what I'm saying is, this is true of the vaccine. You're not allowed to discuss it, and that is so stupid. And of course, and the reason it's stupid is it makes people more afraid of it. It makes people feel more strongly against having it, for the simple reason that no one is discussing the facts. What they are doing is saying it's great, it's wonderful, it works, it's marvelous. That's all they're saying, which only gives one side of the view. Also, what's happening in Australia now, there's some argument of whether or not for instance, the camp in Howard Springs apparently is used all the time as a form of quarantine camp and is not normally enforced to go there. It's entirely voluntary. That's what this Australian chap said to me. And he said that I'd got it wrong in thinking they were being enforced. But as you know, a television announcement from Australia has said quite the opposite, that actually people are being enforced and escorted there. And the Aborigines have been telling us that they are being used routinely for testing things out first. And these are apparently the first groups of being enforced to go to a camp. I don't know which camp it is. And that they are also enforcing the vaccine on the Aborigines. Not all of them, obviously, but some specific places. And because I'm not an Australian, I don't live in Australia, I'm in UK, I don't know exactly what's happening. I'm having to rely on what the Aborigines are saying. They're saying they want help, they want it to stop, they don't agree with it, they don't want the vaccine, they say, and they don't like the fact that they're being forced nor being made to quarantine. They are also saying that they're being stopped from leaving their areas to go shopping and things like this because they're not vaccinated, and they feel that that's an infringement of their rights. And they're saying to the world, if you like, hey, look, this is wrong. This is a bad policy. This is, and they're attacking us. I don't know how many other people, but I do know that Australia has apparently mandated the vaccine, which I think is absolutely wrong. Enforcing a medical procedure on anyone is wrong. It's bad enough when people with mental illness, severe mental illness, are sectioned and are given medication against their wishes. Some of these adverse effects from some of those medications are appalling, and I know what I'm talking about because it's been done to me. I didn't actually have the mental illness that they said I had, but that isn't the point. The point is that the side effects that I suffered was absolutely so severe that had I been not where I was, I would have been in a general hospital on a ward because the effects were so serious. For instance, my bladder stopped working, and one of the side effects I suffered, and it was like torture. And I had to wait for the drug to get out of my system when another doctor stopped the medication. But there was a list of side effects, and I had all of them, the lot. And perhaps the only one, obviously, I didn't get, I didn't die. But it was horrible. And for anyone who suffered like that, coming at me and saying, you must have a vaccine, terrifies me, because I'm suddenly back in that situation, sort of emotionally and mentally. And there are lots of people who've suffered appalling abuse in various in mental hospitals, in prisons, and things like that. And so that they feel exactly the same. If somebody starts saying you must have something, you will do as you're told, it transports them back, as it does me, into that mental and emotional place of being a prisoner. And it makes you feel imprisoned in your mind. And just as lockdowns imprison you in your home, if you like, but you can still physically go out of the door, but there's still a mental sensation of feeling that you've got no freedom. And, and we know that mental health problems have gone absolutely crazy since the first lockdown, and that suicides have gone through the roof, something they're not really discussing honestly. And so countries that have really gone over the top and enforced everything are not just enforcing a medication, they are making people mentally ill and very distressed and disturbed. And they can't possibly cope and provide the care they need because there's too many of them. And it's certainly happened over here. People are waiting, sometimes 18 months, 2 years for treatment, and they were waiting in long queues before the lockdowns, and now it's even worse. Anyway, I just wanted to say that, and I want to say hello to everybody because I haven't been online for absolutely ages. One other thing, Melanie Shaw, who was sent to Rampton, and we believe illegally, is apparently going to come out, but we don't know where, we don't know when. And it could take some time, and finding somewhere for her to go is always difficult because they normally don't send them straight out into a flat or a house. They send them to halfway houses to help them rehabilitate. Gone are the days when they just come straight out. And I understand that's the problem. And with, strangely enough, with the pandemic that's supposed to be going on, and everybody, it's more difficult to find somewhere for her to go. But one hopes that she does come out and she does have a new life. And I think she won't be able to talk about what happened to her anymore. She'll have to, I think, keep quiet in order to live her life. And I hope and I pray that she has a great new life when she comes out. Anyway, that's what I wanted to say to everybody. Bye, and hope you're all well at home, and that all of you are coping. Bye, everybody.